Warning. The Federal Communications Commission has determined the following content to be emotionally harmful. Snowflakes should not view this content under any circumstances, even if supervised by a G.I. Joe, Navy SEALs, Army vet, or someone with good common sense. The views and opinions expressed, including the depictions of persons of color, corrupt politicians, white people with or without a tan, haters who have yet to brush their teeth typing angrily in the comment section with hot breath syndrome, do not reflect any official policy or position of the U.S. government. This program contains graphic language, dark comedy, unique intelligence, creativity, a high credit score, and high blood pressure when triggered. This program has also been accused of racism, violence, misogyny, mansogyny, feminism, MGTOWism, defacement of celebrities, and of course, being a bully. Welcome to Thought Crimes.
Stop playing with my name. On the stage. No more.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Thought Crimes. This is your girl, Sincere, and I'm here with...
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is your man, Peace Solo Prince Solomon here, and we're going to be talking about, I guess, what people are seeing right now. This is like the volcanic ending. It looks like an ending to a very long, understated feud. I mean, look, just in general, we're talking about OVO and Roc Nation. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So this has been happening for a long time. You know, when Hove made comments about Miss Arby and Drake talk about, you know, old niggas trying to be doing the fine arts and that is boring and... You know, also
pushing for illiteracy.
And then I
love it.
Drake making the track Girls Love Beyonce. He was a big fan of Beyonce. And at one time Beyonce appreciated it. Not anymore.
She said that was one of her favorite rappers. Keep that in mind.
Not anymore.
Yeah, but I mean
that was a long time ago.
You remember people was getting at Jay-Z, they was like, damn, bruh. She didn't even say you. They was just trolling him though.
Well, from that to eventually Beyonce saying you could never be my pound cake.
That was crazy.
You know
that was crazy. that was crazy because I remember when I heard that record, I had to rewind. I said, "Did I hear right?"
I was like, "Is Beyonce dissing Drake?"
Because Drake got a song called "Pound Cake" with Jay-Z on there.
Then we had the whole Meek Mill situation, and Tory Lanez, and
Pusha T.
Beyonce saying, "This Megan." Because Drake said, not that Megan, this Megan.
Right.
Then we have the title situation that we talked about in the past. A lot of people have talked about that. The war with Apple and Tidal and Drake getting the $50 million deal over there at Apple. And then also, not coming over there to Tidal, not allowing Jay-Z to stream any of his stuff over there at Tidal as well. And then, the whole thing of Ye and Drake's collaborative album at the time being blocked by Jay-Z, according to them. And then, of course, the climax recently is when we saw Drake allude to Aaliyah plane crash and posted things about Solange and what took place in the elevator with Jay-Z and
a lot of stuff.
They got into it
that night.
So this has been a long back and forth. And then now we also have people trying to use Megan Thee Stallion as the sacrifice to aim at Jay-Z's head. So you got that on the table right now. And I just want to know, Prince, as it stands, what do you think? Because I feel like it's 3-1. I think Drake had a promising start when he did back-to-back and took out Meek Mill, but since then it's L after L after L, and everybody is claiming that Drake's pile-up of L's since the Meek Mill battle has been coming from Roc Nation and Jay-Z. That's what people have been alluding to, who are the streamers and people who are more favorable towards Drake.
It was looking like that at the beginning, but I will say right now, I do feel Drake and his people are up. The very massive guerrilla campaign online with all of these streamers is like a democratized space, and there's 24-hour propaganda, and then there's so much radicalization that goes on in the process. Right now, let's say Jay-Z and the people that are on the other side of Roc Nation, they don't have any propaganda that's really radicalizing the public in the same manner that affiliates, associates of Drake are, and is a multifaceted approach. So yeah, at the beginning, it just looked like, my personal opinion is like, yeah, Jay-Z, being the mountain that he has been for some time represented in hip hop, Drake just didn't know how to really, no pun intended, to really decode, the Brooklyn King in that manner. And not only that, to your point, sometimes when Beyonce was singing, sometimes I felt like Beyonce wanted to box Drake, Well, but, at this point in time, because of some other things that have taken place, and it is about the collective networking, because even, with those things that took place with Drake and, let's say, Meek Mill and Pusha T, and, Drake has mentioned passively, like, bro, every time somebody's cutting up on me, you just happen to be standing in the corner. I think at this point in time, it's almost like he took a bite out of the playbook of what Jay-Z was able to do in, the institutionalized space of traditional media or the music industry. And of course, where we're going right now, you hear, a lot of people in Hollywood are complaining about the digital space. They're complaining about what's been taking place with the streaming space, or the DSPs, better yet, with this current crop. And it just looks like, from Ye to, the whole Tory campaign, and then the streaming campaign, it just seems like a lot of networks are making sense, in the sense that they're able to really just break up a lot of energy right now.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think during the time of Meek Mill, the back-to-back, that Drake, propaganda-wise, was outpacing Jay-Z. I think for a very long time, Jay-Z has been ahead, even now. Because look at it. Yes, you do have the younger generations. Drake does have the younger generations. He has the streamers, and people do underestimate the power of the streamers. Yeah, but they've turned Jay-Z into like Voldemort. Like, Jay-Z now has become the biggest behind the scenes boogeyman in hip hop media, where academics said he's afraid to say his name. You got Chris Brown got locked up in London, and everybody is saying Jay-Z has something to do with it. Top 5 locked up, they said Jay-Z has something to do with it. A lot of the pro-Tory guys have been catching L's and strays, and they say Jay-Z got something to do with it. So they've built Jay-Z up to be like this Hydra, anemic, big final boss type of guy. And in hip hop, those things work well for men, not for women, of course, because you saw when people trying to make Megan Thee Stallion Corilla DeVille, you see how it's been affecting her when it comes to her music right now, and because they're overshooting it. Like, Megan is not no big architect behind some devilish plan, but they're painting her that way. But with Jay-Z, with a lot of the men, they like that. Like, remember the time when Drake looked like he was at his strongest after the whole Meek Mill situation? People was like, man, he's singing to the women. He got mob ties. He's pasta, linguine, and people were like saying, yo, Jay-Z is even far surpassing that, where, like, look at what Dame was on the radio years ago, and he said to Sway, like, don't say it. Don't put me, like, he was like shaking it and shit. Remember when Ye said, Hov, don't get your shooters out on me? Like, they're making it seem as if Jay-Z is the biggest big boss of all time in hip hop history. And even right now, a lot of them are still acting shook, with the exception of 50 Cent. 50 Cent is the only one. He's like the Conan the Conan the Barbaric Warrior, whatever. He's out there still taking shots at Jay-Z overtly, you know, trying to associate him with Diddy on Instagram and stuff. But for the most part, the rest of them are giving like Morse codes, but they don't want to take a direct shot at Roc Nation or a direct shot at Jay-Z.
Well, I think, listen, this is how I feel about it. I do still feel this is a very dangerous space. Actually, I think, my personal opinion, I do believe image-wise, this is the most vulnerable I've seen Jay-Z. True, they are saying that, but also there's a bit of a trickster scheme to that. It's intentional because, again, like I talk about, this is a younger demographic that's coming up. So there's a bit of a radicalization going on right now. Think about it in the same vein that you saw with Professor Griff early on when he was like, did you see what he did right there? That hand, that finger right there, when he was doing those things. And then you start seeing Christian rappers like Bizzo. For a moment, there was like this weird resistant energy that Jay-Z was the devil. And to be fair, I would actually say for the later half of the internet, I would even go back, I would say as early as 2008 on to where we are now. Officially, Jay-Z has been seen as Satan, or one of the many big devils of hip hop. The other one, of course, would include Diddy, but you know, he's been seen as a devil for a long time since Tupac was running around. But Jay-Z has had a very interesting hardcore rebrand by the general public when it comes to conspiracy theories, when it comes to the idea that, you know, you're going to get blackballed, you know, alleged missing people, all of these types of things that started really around 2008, 2009, around the end or the beginning. I would actually say it started when he took office as the CO or the CEO of Def Jam. And then from that point on, all you kept hearing from Kingdom Come and everything up until this point, there's been a very, very, very consistent branding of Jay-Z as Satan.
I think it's legit though. And I do think it adds to his power unless somebody actually slays him, you know, to get him out of the position that he's in. Actually, I feel like that coincides with the point I'm making. You had Professor Griff. You had everybody in hip hop and rap music for damn near 20 years said that Jay-Z is not to be messed with. We've had legendary label owners in hip hop like Dame Dash. We had legendary hip hop artists like Ye. We've had producers. We've had now it's going to the babies. So we had the Gen Xers, the millennials, and now it's the Gen Zers are carrying the mythos of Roc Nation being this deadly force that if you mess with them, you know, if you mess with Jay-Z, if you mess with any of Jay-Z's assets, which includes the people he invests in, that it will bring trouble on your door.
But again, like I said before, it's not beating them Fed allegations. You know, like I said, because there's going to be people that will defend Jay-Z and say, oh, y'all act like, because I saw, you know, some people on the internet that are pro Jay-Z, they're like, y'all got to stop acting like Jay-Z got 6 heads. But I said, that's been the brand of Jay-Z since 2008. Now, we have our jokes. Am I saying it's true or not? Is Sin saying it's true or not? We don't know these people. But we do know that what Jay-Z has been seen as since 2008 all the way up until where we are now, that has been a consistent thing. And then you bring in the conversations of Desiree Perez, and then you see like there are large podcasts. Now it's bled over into the right-wing conservative space, and then what they're doing, they're just like taking it up to the next level. They're putting Jay-Z and Beyonce up there with Oprah and the rest of Ellen and things of that nature. Then it bleeds into other forms of conspiracies as well, which is why you're seeing some of these people feeling like, since I can't touch Goro, aka Jay-Z, then you're seeing them triple these campaigns down on specifically what we get with Megan Thee Stallion.
Petitions, Prince.
Yeah, like
petitions, and most of the people
who look at Drake.
The petition think that Jay-Z is behind it.
Yeah, but look at Drake. Drake just recently, he said, "Come home, Tory. right? And then they had recently, again, a right-wing activist group that is supporting this particular campaign. And sitting now, we told folks about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 6 years ago. We kept telling people, get ready, they're going to be merging the rights into hip hop, and you're going to see them setting up media behind that. So what you have right now, Drake put the petition out there for Tory Lanez to come home in this regard. So it's almost like it's the inverse of what you saw the campaign to bring Meek Mill out of prison. Yeah, it's a backwards re-engineering of what went on with Meek Mandela, as people used to make the jokes. But now the same people that were talking about Meek Mandela, and even academics, he was anti-Meek on that time, and he thought it was stupid. He thought it was fake. But here he is with his own campaign supporting Tory Lanez come home, because it's the juxtaposition of Jay-Z. And to be honest with you, because again, it's a democratized space, you do have new babies here. You have new media here. You have some people, folks, all they've heard about Jay-Z all of their life is that he's got 6 horns. He's Voldemort. Yeah, that's all they heard. They don't know nothing about like the Blueprint 1 era Jay-Z, Rock La Familia. All they know from where they were born all their life is that Jay-Z killed Tupac, Jay-Z shot John F. Kennedy. Like, that's all they know. So now when they're seeing certain things take place, they're like, oh shit, it is true.
And that's why Jay-Z is still up. Now, of course, this isn't to say Jay-Z's invincible. Anything can happen to anybody, to Drake or any of these people. And like you said, we don't have no personal engagement with any of these people to know what is 100% true or not. But what we do know is, and you and I know this, we've made videos on it over the years. Since Def Jam, Jay-Z has been mentioned as this mythical figure that controls and runs hip-hop. From the Gen Xers complaining about him, from millennials complaining about him, and then now the Gen Zers. And these boogeyman, horror tales, are nothing new. I mean, you have people who in early YouTube, people forget early social media, one of the
prehistoric YouTube.
Prehistoric
YouTube.
Yeah, even prehistoric social media, the first thing people talked about was always Jay-Z. You had Professor Griff with his PowerPoints. Yeah. You had people who had hip-hop platform was talking about, the things Jay-Z did during his time in Def Jam. People talk like,
oh yeah. Also, just to say this, no, you're not wrong about that. You had Black Dodd and all of them, but just to say this, Sid,
choke.
Yeah, my God. Then don't forget though, the reason why you saw this really kind of take off on a really ferocious level, people cannot forget about when LL Cool J was attempting to make his exit at the time, and they felt that Jay-Z dropped the ball or intentionally sabotaged LL Cool J's retirement plan, because he was supposed to have like this grand opus finale album, and LL was mad that he felt Jay-Z was playing games, but then he was saying that, me and Jay-Z kind of had this ongoing thing, and now that he got into a position of power, he played me. And that's why I said Jay-Z still, he still has his influence and power. The internet is very tricky. It's very tricky because the way it moves around, and there's too many things happening at once, and these are very ferocious campaigns. And we already seen to some degree what it amounted to with the 13-year-old girl that was put out there. But, we told you guys about, people want his head on the platter. And I know some people they don't believe it, but look at the campaigns you guys see out there. There's multiple, not even unilateral campaigns. These are almost like it's a blitzkrieg of assault in media constantly.
But I show you how powerful they think he is. The blitzkrieg, you should say. They feel like they keep after he haven't. You haven't one day hasn't passed after the 1-800-Bugsby thing.
It's been up
that now
every day.
They every day. People from the industry have told us behind the scenes they feel if they take Megan Thee Stallion out, they feel they could get to Jay-Z. Like if Tory Lanez is freed, then they can have a moral case against Jay-Z that has been so far over the years the campaigns have been failing.
Or they just kind of come across as all talk. That's why I said, I get your point. Like, he's still this mammoth Darth Vader, Lord Sidious, Sith, Voldemort. He's still this grand nigga in the industry that a lot of people have issues with, allegedly, even down to rappers term, podcasters, right? But I am saying, look, to be honest with you, if Tory Lanez, and again, we have our conversations on the deeper dynamics of what was the issue or taking place, we have our conversations that we take care of that on the Patreon. However, though, if Tory Lanez somehow, just saying hypothetically, because nothing has been officially filed as far as new evidence, because this could just be all talk, right? But if he does come outside and that little nigga gets a chance to walk around or have a severely reduced sentence, that does that tilts an energy to a more aggressive favor to the public. Now, where they're going to go with that will be very interesting. But yeah, for the longest, since 2007, no, more than likely 2008, people have been overtly seeing Jay-Z as Satan.
They have been seeing him that way. And look, they think of him as like an extremely wealthy, dark occultist.
No, Aleister Crowley.
Baphomet, Aleister Crowley.
Martin's Marcella.
Look, I mean, let's look at the list.
I said I'm amazing, not that I'm a Mason.
And this is before you get to the people on the internet. We'll get back to the Jaguar Wrights and the Professor Griff, but Professor Griff technically is also, was a part of the legendary group Public Enemy.
He had an authority. He was an authority.
So you have Nicki Minaj.
There you go.
That they say, of course, obviously she went online calling him a coon. In the background, you have Birdman. Birdman hasn't publicly said he had anything issue with Jay-Z, but people are
suspicious of those tweets. Yeah.
People are speculating Jay Prince, even though Jay Prince hasn't publicly said anything against Jay-Z. People are speculating Jay Prince. People are speculating Drake. Now, Drake didn't publicly say anything overtly, but he did do Morris Code, the Lear plane crash, and Salon. He obviously was
in his lyrics
was dissing, Jay-Z.
Don't forget about the lyrics too, just to let everybody know. Like he's been letting it be known with the higher ups coming from my head top.
Tory Lanez claimed directly.
Yeah, he said it.
Jay-Z. And the list goes on and on and on. And on, you have Ye, who years ago said, Jay-Z, don't have your shooters out for me. Ye recently was mocking Jay-Z's children, Jay-Z's and Beyonce's children. And so you got Ye publicly going out. You got 50 Cent. 50 Cent said, Jay-Z tried to take me off the halftime show, but Eminem was the one who kept me on there. And 50 Cent has been going at Jay-Z's neck. And there's so many people.
Still posting about him right now as we speak.
So this is why it's like, right now, people aren't as fearful of OVO as they used to be. Like that moment again when he defeated Meek Mill, and before he got into the battle with Pusha T, there was people he was creeping up there where he was also trying to position himself as the next real threat or competition against Jay-Z. But after the L he took with Pusha T, then now the L he also took with Kendrick Lamar, people aren't looking at Drake anymore exactly in that competitive placement, although you still try to see some people join forces together, allegedly Drake and Ye behind the scenes. You got people who are trying to put their power together behind the scenes.
They are putting it together.
Remember, suing season, allegedly. Yeah. They allegedly.
Well, there's no accusations. I mean, there's nothing there's nothing malicious in that statement. Like, it's clearly the top 5 wearing the Nazi chain.
All coincidences. So allegedly, these people are coming together, powering up to go against Jay-Z because it's seemingly, they can't connect on their own.
Yeah, so look, but no, this is what you got to understand too. And just to be real about it, this OVO and Roc Nation thing has been going on for a long time, and Drake has been on record. Now you saw Tory Lanez, he was on record as well. So, and then Jay-Z has thrown his shots as well. So it's like, if you know hip hop, you understand lyrics, you're not deaf, right? Clearly there's some static there. You get what I'm saying? It's kind of like, people saw static was coming between Kendrick and Drake for a long time, like early on with Nas and Jay-Z. Yeah, so, of course, Jay-Z and Drake, they've been trading shots with each other. And then, of course, before going to prison, Tory Lanez had, went on his campaign as well. There are a couple things, though. It would be interesting. Let's just say if Drake has any type of legal victory anywhere, or if Tory Lanez is granted some form of a legal victory. Again, nothing has been officially classified or refiled, anything of that manner, because of, they're talking about this new evidence. But just say hypothetically, based on anything that we see in the universe, these two things are a green light somewhere. The campaign is just going to get even further more ridiculous. So right now, at this point in time, though, there is a stalemate. But yes, nonetheless, even when them seeing Jay-Z saying publicly, well,
Me and Diddy was never friends. We never took pictures together, nothing.
Right. And then he kind of just walked on. And a lot of people's, they was kind of thrown for a loop with that. But, if you paid attention to the history of Jay-Z as he, he's moved throughout his career, you've seen he's been possibly, if not the most shrewd businessman, with the exception of Diddy, but Diddy allegedly stuff goes into other dimensions, which is why they were seen as the twin dragons over hip hop. So that is why you're seeing a lot of even the new ones coming in talking about, Jay-Z Satan, and we'll be watching to see where everything takes place.
Come on, you're gonna have the alpha generation talking about Jay-Z.
Yeah,
like this been going on for 3 generations already.
It's probably gonna be going on 4.
You got Cameron and Mace.
Yeah.
Jay-Z blocked me from the Fanatics deal. You had Gilly the Kid.
That is true.
It's like damn near every fucking generation.
Then the generation before Jay-Z came, they said, beware, he's coming. So
we got industry niggas, alternative media, independent media.
Yeah, and actually, whatever, some of the things that was stated or said, what was alluded to, as we stated before here on our YouTube channel, and even on the Patreon and, podcast and everything, the further he's kind of pushed back, because as of recently, especially with the lawsuit, even though he was successful there, and even how he was able to flip things around with Busby, but that's more of a direct lane. It would be interesting to see how and in which way would the attempt to kind of wrangle this blitzkrieg ravenous media right now that's clearly anti-Jay-Z, clearly anti-Roc Nation, because we saw how confident Busby was, even possibly taking on the likes of Jaguar Wright. And then when certain things started to happen, he immediately started distancing himself from Jaguar Wright. But it would be very interesting. I am going to be paying attention to see how will either Jay-Z, his team, lawyers, Roc Nation, how are they going to douse this very fervorous, aggressive blitzkrieg in media? Because, look, we've seen Jay-Z slide out of a lot of different things. Brooklyn Hustler, he said it's in my DNA, so... it is very interesting. And then, of course, you have Beyonce, who's a planet onto herself, about the size of Jupiter, and she's on tour right now. And 50 Cent was making fun that, Beyonce couldn't sell no tickets, and then her stuff sold out. You saw the concert, you saw her flying through the air in the car with no wheels with the cowboy hat on, and then 50 Cent deleted his post, and the Beehive has been trolling his ass ever since.
Yeah, so he went back. He went back to focus on Jay-Z. But this is part 1 to this breakdown. There's gonna be we feel like there's gonna be a couple of breakdowns on this. And who do y'all have in the chat? Do y'all think the blitzkrieg that they're trying to put with Super Friends against Jay-Z and Roc Nation, do y'all think they're going to succeed? Do you think Drake and OVO are going to succeed, or do you think Jay-Z is going to Roc Nation and are going to wash them?
Man, this is like an empire. Honestly, I'm gonna say this. If Jay-Z, because the Busby thing already shook a lot of folks. It was like, damn, he walked up out of that, and Diddy's in prison right now, still trying to get out, right? if Jay-Z is able to walk around all of these aggressive boys and streamers and their fans and everything that's going on, I don't think you're gonna have anybody else say nothing else about this nigga.
I actually agree. If Jay-Z shuts down Tony Bugsby for good, if Tory Lanez stays in prison, if he doesn't get out of prison, and you see trouble for everybody else behind the scenes, I do agree with you. It's gonna stop. If Tory gets out of prison,
yep,
then you're gonna see them become more bold
and confident,
against taking out Jay-Z, Roc Nation, and all that other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And and again, the other side of the game too. We cannot discount, since we're speaking about OVO, we got to speak about the OVO king himself. If Drake has some sort of a victory with the UMG situation on top of that, and then you have a reinvigorated base with Tory, and that them boys going to be acting like Attila the Hun.
I'm gonna be honest. I think that the Tory one would be more important because the UMG one could be spun in different directions. Even if Drake wins anything, they still felt he became a crybaby pertaining to the spirit of battle rapping and diss records. So that's always going to be that's going to always be a blemish on him, even though he obviously with no key and stuff proves he could still have a career. But I think that's going to be a blemish for him in hip hop. The Tory one, I think, for their campaign is the direct shot. Because then they could say, see, they could be like, Megan is a liar. We prove to you that Roc Nation, da 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 da.
Well, yeah, they already doing that.
Online, talking to, whenever he physically recovered, talking to different streamers and stuff. So they will then finally, for the first time, feel like they have a really effective campaign.
Yeah, that's what I said. No, like where Jay-Z's position is right now, it's not fixed. Yes, he's the all-seeing demigod, but these people are very active online. That's why I also said with the UMG, that's why I was just pairing it together. I said a 2-for-1. If there's a Tory gets to walk out free all day like OJ, especially after him being stabbed 14 times, even listen to what people are alluding to that. It's a lot, like I said, but those things, and if you notice, those situations are usually paired, especially with the two Canadians. Them two Canadians, man, there's a lot of hell they causing in America. All right, so that's it, folks. Leave your comments below and restate that question again you wanted them to say about what do they think about it.
Who gonna win the Super Friends? 50 Cent, yay. 50 Cent, yay, Drake. Yeah. Y'all already know everybody, Drake. Nicki and all that. Yeah. Or will it be Jay-Z, Roc Nation? Yeah. Who's gonna win?
They look like they about to double tap Donald Trump in the ring.
I'm sure they begging to him. They begging to Gavin Newsom as well, the governor of California. They trying. They Whack 100 said we just need the right politicians.
What does that mean? You already know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your man, Prince Solomon.
And this is your girl, Sincere.
Peace.
To this day. To this day.
Turn your back on me.
Is that a challenge?
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
White folks are nosy. They have specials. Nosy specials. Why does a bee make honey? You ain't a bee. Why do you give a fuck?
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
If he dies, he dies.
to our Patreon for more. And don't bother me.